Hi Catherine, Paulina. Right, I'm going to show you how to create a power tip. Hopefully you can see this information. So the first thing we want to do is we want to, let's close all these bits and pieces down. We want to Google GoToMeeting and just click on GoToMeeting here. And then at the top right hand corner here, hopefully you can see that, you need to click on the sign in button, and I will attempt to create some documents as well for you so you can see what's going on. That will take you into the sign in page. Put in my details, obviously my email address, and the password is happy 2017. Let's just double check that. Happy 2017, and it is. So the page will automatically default to GoToMeeting, which is here on the top left hand corner. However, what we need to do is, if you click on my name and then the drop down, we scroll down to GoToWebinar and you click on there. Right, so what we want to now do is we want to record a power tip, and the way we do that is we do schedule a webinar. Okay, and I'm going to do Catherine and Paulina training session. Can't spell training from here. MDRAING. There you go. So you put the title in. Typically what you would do with the power tip is you would put some information in here. Okay, so whatever the benefits are of the power tip. And there's nothing else really here to do except put the start time in to start in about 15 minutes time. So at the moment it's 9:40, so I'm going to put that to let's say to 9:55. Okay, AM. Let's change that to AM. And fine. Now, one of the reasons why you don't want to start it too far ahead is because the system will recognise that it's too far ahead and won't necessarily allow you to start. Okay, and then we just hit schedule and we are ready to go. Okay, what you'll find here is various things. The piece which you actually really want is this link here is the link which we use to give to marketing, because that's where the recording will be actually held and the registration will actually be held there. So, oh no, ignore that, just ignore that. Ignore everything I've just said there. Right, just move on from there, that's all good. And then we'll, so this one we can actually hit, I'll go back to my webinars here. And what you should do is you should see that webinar on the list of upcoming webinars here. So obviously we can see next week's webinar here. So what you would do next week is you would come here and you would click on that. So I'm going to click on the title, which is here. That will then take you to this page and just hit the start button. Okay. Depending on what PC you're using, you may have to, I'll have to run the application here, but that's pretty simple. I think for both of you, you've already run GoToWebinar, so you can use the application already there. Okay. Oh, apologies for this, I've got to update. That should be fine now. Okay, now most importantly, when we get to here, you must put in, choose an audio option, which is computer audio. So what you're saying is, I only want people, I'm going to talk into the microphone, i.e. your PC, and that's the way people are going to hear you. Okay, you're not going to call into a number. So call, click on audio. What I usually do here is, I'll just bear with me 1 second, let's run that, is I would just to test your sound, at that? And that will continue going. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Now on this particular, I'm in web at the moment, so this doesn't actually have a microphone.
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an organizer and may now speak to any other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the Go to Webinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you.
Okay, hopefully you can see this. I'm going to try and move that a little bit closer. Let's move that a bit further out. You can see that panel. Right. Okay, sorry about this, ladies. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to try and focus in on that panel. Okay, so the first thing you want to do here is when we get to 11:45 on the day, what we're going to do is we're going to hit show my screen. And you can see what, if people logged in right now, what they would see. So if you click on this drop down arrow here, oh, beg your pardon. Oh no, ignore that. Ignore what I'm saying here actually. I thought, right. Right, that will give you an idea of what the background and taskbar. Okay, ignore. Right, so what you want to do, all of these things here, let's get rid of handouts, because handouts is not something that we actually use. Questions we use, we're not using polls, and we'll use chat and questions, and then the dashboard, which we'll keep on as well. So one of the things to do with your own one is to make sure your mic is working. So speak into it, and what you should find is some green bars come along when you're testing the mic here. Okay, now once you are ready to start, or at 1:45, you want to hit the show my screen. Now,
the broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, so now people will be able to listen to you, and they'll also be able to look at your screen as well. So if you go to audience view, that's the piece I wanted to show you earlier. If you go to audience view, that is the information they're going to be able to see. Okay, and then if you stop showing your screen, that's the screen they will see. So that's the screen they will see before they arrive at 1:45. Okay, so I'm going to go back to show my screen. Okay, so you now are actually broadcasting, so they can hear and see what's on your screen. So obviously what you want to do at 1:45 is you want to hit this mute button here. You are now muted, okay? And that's pretty much it. Now, once you are ready to start, one of the things which I will do, actually, let's go and get a PowerPoint. So 2017, 5th of April. Okay. Just wait for that to come on. The other thing which I would recommend is to try and close down anything that you're not actually using. So I can close everything down which you're not, so because just to give it a slightly clean and tidy sort of appeal. Now, what I normally do is I would hide this taskbar, and the only reason being is, certainly with PowerTips, you don't necessarily need to know what time this has been recorded, and also it just gives you more of the screen. So the way you do that is you go to Properties and you go to Auto Hide click on that, go to Auto Hide the taskbar here. Okay, just in case you didn't see, Auto Hide the taskbar here. Apply that, and OK. And what you'll notice is now the toolbar at the bottom, or the taskbar at the bottom, no longer appears, and it will only now appear if you scroll down your cursor down here. If you move your cursor back up again, it will be here. Now, bizarrely, the PowerPoint presentation is taking a little bit of time, so this is the benefit of doing a live presentation with you. Okay, right, not sure why that's taking time, so let me kill that for a second. This has all gone a bit strange. Right, I'm just going to put the video on pause for a second. Okay, we're back on, and So one of the things to do is obviously to make sure that your PowerPoint is in presentation mode, and then the other thing to do is to ensure that there are only so many things you have open. So I'm going to go back down here because I think I've got a couple of other things open which I can shut down. Right, okay. So what you want to do is you want to practice going from the presentation screen back to the suite screen, okay, which is here. So keep practicing that. So if you just go from one to the other, then the next time you do it, because what it's going to do, it's always going to remember the last screen it did. So when you do Alt-Tab, it should flick you back here again, Alt-Tab, back to suite, Alt-Tab, back to presentation. Okay, so assuming we are now ready to start, the first thing to do, let's just close this down here. Paulina, obviously, because Catherine is going to be looking at running the session herself, look out for the chat facility, and then also what you can also do is to expand the questions facility as well. That's where the questions will come in. If you can't see any questions, or when the question does come in and it's difficult for you to read, use this button here to expand it, and then you'll be able to see the question here. The way you answer the question is you actually have to click on the question, type in the information here on one of these text boxes here, and then hit send privately. Remember, always hit send privately unless you have about 60 people who say they can't hear you or they can't see your screen, in which case obviously send to all. But I know that's not going to happen. Right, so I was going to quickly shut that down. Right, so you're now ready to start, you're ready to go. Take a few deep breaths, relax, and the first thing you do is hit the start recording. And once you hit start recording, it's actually going to record straight away. So hit start recording and continue with conference audio only. Yeah, sorry, you won't have that issue. Okay, start recording and then minimize this. And once you get back to the PowerPoint, you can now welcome everybody and then obviously introduce yourselves and say who you are, and then run through the housekeeping points. So the session time is going to be 22 minutes. Question and answers, and use the chat service or questions. I'll change that slide for you, Catherine. And then you can go straight into it. Or perhaps maybe because Paulina is doing this, maybe Paulina, you could introduce this Catherine, and then Catherine can then run the session, and then Paulina can then come back again. Obviously, when you get to this piece, back over to Catherine and say, right, and Catherine's going to run through exactly what she's going to be going through on the session itself. Okay, let's get started. When you get to here, once again, remember, Alt-Tab, just do it once. What I see some people do is they press down the Alt and then they hold the tab down, and then now they're lost to exactly where it should be. So just Alt-Tab once, you go back to the suite screen, and you continue that until you're ready to hand over back to Paulina once she's completed the question. So Alt-Tab here again, and Paulina, you can then just finish off by saying, if you have any questions, call on this support line or email us. The next webinar will be, and I'll make sure that slide is finished. We also have to think about what the next webinar is going to be, and just talk a little bit about it, talk about it in a very exciting way that people really can't afford to miss that. And talk about the power tips. Something else which we've kind of missed off just before the thank you here is just before you go, just mention the CPD credit. So if anybody needs a CPD credit certificate, email at helpdesk@costar.co.uk, and then you are back, and then we will then send them a certificate later on that afternoon or the following day. Probably best to say you'll get the certificate the following day in an electronic format. Okay, and then just say thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a good afternoon. And then I would leave this screen for a moment, but the first thing you want to do is open up this tab and hit stop recording, and the recording has now stopped. Okay, and that's pretty much it. All you now need to do is, depending on whether you want to wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I would say definitely wait 10 minutes. Keep this screen on for a little bit longer until you get to about 22, and then click on the top exit button here. So if you go, it does actually say quit. You may not necessarily be able to see that on this video, but the top right hand corner on the panel there, click on the quit button. That will say, are you sure you want to end the webinar for everybody? Yes. And the webinar has now ended for everybody. Now, obviously one of the things that should happen is, I'll just minimize this, is you will find the recording here. So the first thing you want to do is leave this open. Do not minimize it, do not close it, because I couldn't figure out a way how to get back to here. And then hit convert recording. Okay. So I'm just going to put it on pause, because you don't necessarily want to wait for this to happen. I'll come back to you in a second. Okay, we're back. Once it's completed, what you then want to do is you want to find where that recording actually is. So let's have a look at this. Click on the Open Recordings folder, and that will immediately tell you where that is for you on your specific laptop. So it's here. Personally, what I do is I'll just quickly drag it on to the desktop. It's just so much easier for you. And then what we want to do, and close, now we can actually close this down, is open the, keep the go to webinar open, and now go to My Recordings and click Upload Recording. Select a file. For me it's obviously in desktop, but depending wherever it is for you, open, and then you wait for this piece to finish. You don't need to wait for that, I'll just put it on pause for a second. Okay, and we're back. One of the benefits about pausing is, what you wouldn't have seen is I've spilt water everywhere, but I managed to clean it up. Anyway, forget about that. So processing your recording. So what you'll now have to wait is just hit close. Unfortunately, you're not going to get the email, because the email which then says that the processing is completed will actually come to me. When it does come to me, I'll forward it on to you, because then you know that the recording's done. Once the recording is completed, you'll find that recording here, and the way you share that power tip is you just basically click on here, copy link, and then obviously open up your email, and you can post that link to whoever needs to get it. Okay, I hope you found that worthwhile, and give me a call, let me know if you have any other questions, or if there's anything which you don't quite understand. You're going to be great. Have a great day.